welcome to HOA Fight Club. I'm Raylene Schifano. I would like to continue my discussion from yesterday. So yesterday I talked about when I first started legislation. Well, after I started my legislation trip, the first thing that I found really intimidating was going down to Olympia and testifying. So when you go down to testify, I didn't have any idea what to expect. I'm going into a room of legislators and thinking how involved they must be in all of these different bills that are being presented in front of them and how everything's going. And it's very intimidating. And the first thing you do is you go in and you log in and you tell them what you're there for and why you're testifying. And you know, we put in, Joe Mendoza and I put in that we were there to represent the homeowners and what our interest is in all of this. So I find that the homeowner is the stakeholder. We have everything into this, that the attorneys and property managers and insurance companies, these are, you know, businesses that were created by, this industry is created for and by homeowners. If it wasn't for us, none of these would be needed. So when we talk about these industries, they're not the stakeholders. The stakeholders are the homeowners. It's our investment. So it really bothers me when we're talking about things and the legislators say they have to go talk to the attorneys and the property managers because they're the stakeholders. They're not. If we weren't paying their bills, they would have nothing to do with it, and they would go look for employment in other businesses and places, as they should. Back to legislation. So I went in and I signed in, and when I went into the room, it was a room full of, guess what, lobbyists and attorneys there to say that they loved the new Uniform Act and how wonderful it was. And then there was the other side. The other side was us and people that defend homeowners in foreclosure. They didn't like this because homeowners are getting foreclosed on for little fines, like $50, and for less than $3,000 or $4,000, they're losing their homes, and the mortgage still needs to be paid. And so this puts the banks and people that pay for these mortgages, those companies, in financial jeopardy also. So it really hurts more than just the homeowner. It hurts the people financing these loans. So the attorneys that represent these people that go into foreclosure are concerned that they are losing their homes for something they shouldn't be losing their homes for, which was our concern also. So when I went in to testify, there are legislators and, well, they're not really paying attention to you. They get this little brief. First of all, the Uniform Act was 139 pages, so I read every single page. I don't think the legislators did. They get that stack of papers and they get a little tiny brief on what it is, and they go, they don't read it. They don't even care to read it. They don't want to read it. I don't think it doesn't matter to them if they read it because they already know what their vote is. Somebody's telling them what to do, what to vote, and that's how they vote. Trust me, that's how it's working. If they were paying attention, there is no way that they would vote for these acts because they would know that they were unconstitutional. So when I went in and I started testifying, I made my point. I made it very clear that these laws were unconstitutional, and yet I was ignored. People were playing on their phones. Some people got up and went to the bathroom in the middle of it. So they're really not paying attention to the people testifying because, once again, they've already made up their mind. So as I went to leave, the people that created the Uniform Act and the law, the lawyers, came up to me and said, you know, you should have just paid that fine. I don't know why you're making such an issue of all of this. I should have just paid the fine? No, you should have just offered due process. You should have just offered our constitutional rights. You should have made the laws better. You should have sought further and better improvements in the law. It should not be up to the homeowner. It should be up to the legislators and the lobbyists and the attorneys to make sure that the laws are followed correctly. So that was my reply to him. But it didn't change anything. They passed the Uniform Act anyways because the Constitution doesn't matter to them. I guess that's what I have to say about that. So then I continued my journey. Of course, that law didn't get passed, or that bill didn't get passed, or the one I wanted to didn't get passed, but the Uniform Act did. So the next year, Vicki Kraft and I and Joe Mendoza came up with another House Bill 2790, and it was really, really accepted by most communities. Even CAI didn't have a problem with it. It protected everybody. It gave the Attorney General's office some grit to go after people. Can you believe the Attorney General's office doesn't have any power over these people? I thought nobody was above the law. Just saying. So we tried to give the Attorney General's office some power. Well, that didn't pass because appropriations would have to put up some posters and give us our rights. You know, we'd have to make posters to tell us what our rights are. Can you believe we'd have to tell us what our rights are? Isn't that already done with the Washington State Constitution? I really have to question these legislators when they're writing these laws. If we have to tell people what their rights are in a poster, it's really got to be something that they should consider unconstitutional then, if you have to spell out their rights again. So as I continued my journey with legislation, I found that writing legislation, I didn't think was going to help. So it kind of died off after a little bit. And I went into dealing with my lawsuit. So this year I started legislation again. And I found that I was really going to have the Attorney General's office participate. We were going to get this bill done. We have started a bill. We have some grit in it. It gives the Attorney General's office some power. And the week before it's supposed to go into session, guess what? Just not enough time, and it's not that good of a bill apparently, and it's not going to have the money because of the other bills. So again, homeowners are pushed off. Again, in Washington State, we're pushed off. So legislation is not going to get done if we, the people, don't start pushing for legislation, because the legislators don't really care. Well, let me take that back. There's a few legislators that really care and they really want to make change. But until the Attorney General's office feels that there's some necessary things that need to be done, that the thousands of complaints that come in every single month, year after year after year, I've got thousands of complaints. I've got them from the Attorney General's office. There's pages and pages, and there's a list of the same people, same property management companies, same attorneys that violate people's rights listed on those pages. And yet it just doesn't matter. He just doesn't care, apparently. Or the laws just aren't there. I guess until he really realizes, our Attorney General realizes that nobody's really above the law, he's going to take his own words, because it was him that said that, and puts his foot down and says nobody's above the law. These things will never change. So we need to hold the Attorney General to his own words and say, nobody is above the law. Nobody is above the Washington State Constitution, and you need to make a change, Mr. Attorney General. I'll see you on the next one.